Today I'm super excited because I'm interviewing Tom Dowd from Performance Inspired. It's one of Mark Wahlberg's brands. And not only that, I didn't realize it until at the end of the episode when I was talking with Tom. Tom's in the TV show Wahl Street on HBO Max. Season 1's already out, but they just finished shooting season 2. Super exciting interview. Stick around to the end and you get up to 20% off of all the Performance Inspired products. Tom's going to hook you up. Welcome back, everybody, to today's episode of Clicks and Bricks. Today, I've got Tom with Performance Inspired, a supplement line for the masses that he created. And before I go any further, we're just going to bring Tom on and get his input. How you doing today, Tom?
Okay, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about Performance Inspired and what got you started in this business?
Sure. Well, I spent 25 years at GNC growing general nutrition company, and it was time for me to move on. And my now business partner, who just happens to be Mark Wahlberg, the actor, pushed me to kind of come join him and be his kind of CEO for everything outside of TVs and movies. And one of the big ideas we had, knowing that the trends were leaving specialty, going into the mass market, was to create a better line of all natural products for the mass market consumer who was moving out of specialty looking for better products in the mass. So Mark and I started it. We brought on Draymond Green from the Warriors, NBA player. We got, IMG, William Morris Agency invested along with us. Bryson DeChambeau just joined our company, invested in the company. And AMI American Media is a partner who owns all the magazines, including the National Enquirer, which they just sold. So, so we bought, we weren't looking for partners, but a lot of people believe in what we're doing and wanted to be a part of it and joined the team. So that was about 4.5 years ago. And as you can see behind me, we have almost 60 products now, about 38 SKUs, and we just keep growing. And, the space is red hot. Everybody, really, especially with even the pandemic, you have the folks that put on some weight or just really decide to commit to their health more. Then you have the people that, were already more involved and just became really intense about their fitness level. So it's a win-win. Our web sales alone were up almost 98% last year. So, we just continue to do well.
98% growth on anything is pretty dang good.
On top of double-digit growth the year before. So, growth's great unless you have supply chain issues, which is what we have now. So,
yes,
both are going in the right direction, but the wrong direction for us as far as getting the products that we need.
Fantastic. So I'm going to go off script here just a little bit because you dropped a pretty big name there on one of your partners. So I think it's important for the audience to know, what was it like? Did you have this idea and say, hey, I'm going to bring on partners and started soliciting partners? Or did you already have this relationship built with Mark that led to kind of a natural progression? Or did you go out and solicit for partners?
It looked like you were surprised you didn't know Wahlberg was involved. But we had a good, long relationship before that. I helped him out on some business things with Aqua Hydrate, a water company, has with Sean Combs, P. Diddy and Ron Burkle. And this guy, Pete Arnell, out in New York, a big marketing guy who did the Pepsi logo, called me one day, said, hey, I'm here with Mark Wahlberg. He needs your help. And I just happened to be in New York at the time. And I said, all right, I'm here now. Let's get after it. And, we had a
definitely a call you jump in a car and you head over for, right?
Yeah,
you don't mess around with that opportunity.
Yeah, and, I was more working to impress Peter Arnell, who was kind of my guy, help him get the account for Mark. And then, I basically roughed up his CEO for Aqua Hydrate and a couple other guys. And then Mark asked me to come back. That was Wednesday, asked me to come back on Friday. I did it, kind of replicated the beating. And, figured Peter would get the account, which he didn't. But then Mark and I became fast friends, and he called me that Tuesday to kind of fill me in on what was going on. And we've been talking every day for the last 10 plus years. And,
right.
So to answer your question, so when I was leaving, and Mark was kind of pushing me and saying, hey, come and do this, because I was already investing with private equity and venture capital, doing a lot of different things. And Mark says, well, come and let's restart what we started with GNC called Marked. We had a line called Marked. And then GNC pulled the plug on it because they were kind of spiraling and they didn't want me wasting time on a pet project, as they called it. So they wouldn't fund it anymore. So Mark and I were always bothered by that, knew we could do it right. So, when I was leaving, Mark said, hey, let's restart and do it our way and we'll just fund it, which was fine. And then, when people heard what we were doing, they started saying, hey, we want to be involved. And the first person to say he wanted to be involved was the CEO of American Media, AMI, David Pecker, that's his real name. And he said, hey, I want to be involved in anything you do, including writing a check. And I said, well, listen, we're not looking for partners, but if we were going to have a partner, David's the guy. We were both board members on Slim Fast, the company that we invested in. I've known him for, at that point, 20 years doing business with him at GNC. So that kind of opened the floodgates. And then, Draymond Green, we just happened to be with at the time, wanted to be involved. And then most recently, Bryson DeChambeau, who's been secretly using our products for years, walked away from a paycheck with another company and wrote us a check to kind of be a part of everything we're doing in business, starting with PI. So that's kind of now he's our face of PI from the athletic side. Mark Wahlberg is the official face of PI. He's the guy that, really is the founding partner, so involved every day. But we're going to be working on a whole line with Bryson. He wants to really have his fingerprints on a lot of our products. So he wants to develop some ready to drinks and some bars and some more supplements. And he really wants to go after it. So he's very engaged.
Right. So obviously you have a differentiator in your product right out of the gate. Mark Wahlberg is, other than his hamburger line, is a beacon of good health and wellness in our country, right? You just read his schedule, and he's a hustler. He appreciates life balance, all those things. I've never got to meet him. Hopefully after this week, I might get the opportunity, but seems like a stand-up guy across the board. Love reading his stuff and following him on social media. And we talk here on Clicks and Bricks a lot about being a business owner and your wellness and health and how important that is. And you've created a supplement line, right? And I know a little bit about the micros and the macros of the world. How important is it for a user whenever they're, and let's just use the most common one, right? I want to lose weight in this world, right? That's probably the most common thing that a person is going to look at, and when they start looking at supplements, whenever they're getting the protein or the whey protein or whatever, how important is it to have the highest quality ingredients when you're talking about cutting weight? Because I think it's important, but I'd like to hear from, you've got 20 years of supplements, or, the GNC, and then now you've got your own line with, some of the most influential people in the world. So I'd like to hear your input there.
Yeah, listen, I battled my weight, power lifter. I still lift like crazy. I'm a big guy, and, I'm big, get this big fat Irish head, and, it's always a battle. But quite frankly, we're really not in the diet business. We're in the wellness business, and, I'm doing Peloton. I lift 4 or 5 days a week, for me now at my age, it's more about recovery, with, keeping my muscles, strong and joints strong. And, we just launched a new joint formula that we're really happy with, that we just finally put out. It's here because I take it, every day like crazy, because, when I lift heavy, my forearms start to kill me, my, elbows, my knees, it's never ending. But, listen, diet's a big part of it. People are choosing healthy ingredients to replace their, lunch, dinner, whatever, with a healthy smoothie. Our bars, instead of grabbing, a handful of chips or something, even though we have protein chips, we take a bar, it fills you up. We try and really create what we call functional food. So everything we have is really functional. So we take, like our core protein, we take a whey protein, we make it, 25 grams instead of just 24, which is the number one protein the world has. And even our manufacturing partners say, why don't you just go down to 24? You know how much money you would save? It's all because 25 is the right amount. We put fiber in it, which doesn't sound sexy, but fiber is really important. It's great for your digestion. It's great for mouthfeel, satiety, fills you up. So we put fiber in it. Fiber adds bulk, which, costs money to put in, and it also costs money to ship. And then we put digestive enzymes in it. So that's just our core protein, as opposed to somebody else that just has a pure protein at 24 grams or even 25. We put those other added ingredients into everything we do, because, the one thing we didn't want to have is just another Me Too brand out there. So being all natural is very important and always adding value to every product that we have.
Right.
Just to help us stand out. Because quite frankly, there's not a lot of science out there that we could buy or utilize that would really set us apart. We're basically a food line. When you look
Right.
at everything we have, we just added new collagen, which is a hot category. It's just basic, all natural food products. Our protein is just protein.
Right.
It's just, it's processed to be simple and easily digested and fast digestion. And, it's important. So more to answer your question, yeah, people use a lot of our products for dieting, but probably the majority of our products are used by people that are living a healthy lifestyle that want to continue to, recover faster, work out harder. Our pre-workouts are big sellers.
Right.
Just kind of continue that, making healthy choices in everything that they have.
Fantastic. So you go into a business, you've got some phenomenal partners right out of the gate, and you still stepped back and said, hey, we could probably throw any protein shake out there and be somewhat successful, but you still wanted to push that and and still have another differentiator, which is, the best ingredients, best of breed, and all of those things. Do you think that that was also a big factor in your success, or do you think that you were just on the right path at that time, at the right place, at the right time?
So, the category is double-digit growth for 15 plus years, so that helps, right? So,
right.
We didn't start this in a down.
But it is hyper competitive, though, right? I mean,
it is. Everything's competitive. We have, but how do you say no when Mark Wahlberg wants to be your partner and start this line? You'd be crazy. The guy's been known for being in great shape for his entire life. He started lifting weights in the backyard. There's about 5x5 with literally cinder blocks in a bar. No joke. People are like, oh, he's got personal chefs and trainers and stuff. I said, yeah, but when he was 17, he was lifting up bricks.
Yeah, he had that body before he had the money, for sure.
He was a model because he had a great body. He got picked to do that. The
Absolutely.
guy was in great shape. He just continued. And listen, he's an animal. The guy is the busiest guy I know. We just invested in the gym chain F45 about 2 years ago.
It's a good brand. I like that.
And he's really, an inspiration to me, business wise. The guy's constantly on the phone with me. We probably have $3,000 worth of UPS bills this year alone, just sending product back and forth for him for taste testing rounds. So he's super involved. He never stops. Even when he sleeps, I think. He's always dreaming about what he's working on and doing.
All right. So I love the talk about Mark, but this is a show for you. So on to our normal baseline questions. In your life, obviously, you've got a long career in a really competitive world that's gone through a lot of turmoil throughout the years. Can you give us a tip or trick that you have that you've used in your life, either personal or business, that helped you overcome those adversity times whenever things looked rough or you had a big mountain to climb and you might have had rocks in your shoes and you still figured out how to get up and push through and bust through that and keep moving forward?
Oh. Well, yeah, listen, everybody looks at your quote unquote success, and we're in about 11 different deals right now. We're just investing in tequila. We're doing a lot of different things, and everybody doesn't see the background stress and anxiety of committing personal money to things.
Right.
Time is the most valuable thing right now. And doing the due diligence and working hard, even with PI, we call it a success, but we're still growing and fighting the fight. Supply chain. So the trick I guess I use is always focusing on everything's a problem, right? Every day is problems. We're here to get paid, and we get paid through our success. When you kill what you eat by figuring out problems. So you can't look at problems as negatives. Everything has a solution. So, when I was at GNC, it's like, people bring me problems all day long, I used to think, oh, why didn't they just figure that out? I said, well, because then I wouldn't have a job so good. I just look at it very positive. Like, there's always going to be a solution. You may not love the solution, but you just have to accept it and push through it and keep your mind on the positive of where it's going to go. So if you take a dip, just like the stock market, more money's made on the dips than on the upside because people take advantage of it. Same thing in business. You just have to kind of suck it up, work through it, and just keep focusing on where you need to be. So, that's kind of, I guess, the most simplest answer for me is, just problems don't blow me out of water. It's just, okay, we have a problem. Let's figure it out. There is a solution and push through it.
Fantastic. And I totally agree with you. And I've got a little trick on how to change your mindset when what you're talking about. So whenever you come across a problem, you're like, hey, I'm not going to look at this as a negative. I'm going to try to turn this into a positive. And that's hard for a lot of people to do, right? So the trick that I teach, and I train, little boys and girls boxing, right? I'm a boxing coach. So what I teach them to do is lay down and relax and catch their breath and all that stuff. But if you can think about one of your big failures in life and you can go back to it and really, try to put yourself back into that moment. And whenever you get in that moment, you realize, hey, that was a failure, and your natural instinct is to be upset about it. But instead of being upset about it when you remember it, try to really put a big smile on your face and think about the things that you learned from that moment, and then start looking at those failures or those times of adversity and really just change your mindset on what those are. Those are learning experiences. Those are times of that you got through something. And most of the time, it's because you're trying to do shit that nobody else is trying to do. And you're really pushing yourself to those limits. And that's when you fail. So if you can learn to appreciate those moments and really just enjoy them and know that, hey, I'm learning stuff and I'm pushing myself. And that's the trick that I use on looking at those really challenging times. And instead of being upset and throwing the bat down and saying walking away, but pull up my pants and keep moving forward and tackle that giant problem instead of be afraid of it and hide in the corners, which will make that problem just get bigger and bigger, right?
And listen, a lot of times it sucks when you're going through stuff. I survived 3 leverage buyouts at GNC. I mean, I remember laying on the couch in my basement, in depression mode every weekend for months when we one of them, and thinking, all right, I'm going to get fired any day now.
Yeah, it's scary.
I put on my big boy pants on Monday and went to battle, man. It's just like going to war. Foreign ownership we had. I mean, so I got a lot of battle scars, and I don't want to be cavalier and say, listen, I've always been a hero, but you learn that you're the CEO of your life, and like you just have to say, okay, I'm gonna get through it. What's the worst that could happen? And just muscle through it, and just know that there's always a solution.
Right. And for the listeners, what Tom just said was you're the CEO of your own life. And that is absolutely true if you believe it. If you don't believe it, if you just think that this life is happening to you and you're, a victim of life, then you're going to live that life. But if you say, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to destroy this thing and I'm going to live it under my terms and I'm going to make stuff happen, then you can do that. It's totally your choice. You don't have to ask anybody permission in this wonderful world that we're all given to do whatever you want to do. Right? Just go out and do it.
Never take the victim mindset in almost anything. Even just somebody starts to be aggressive or the problems come at you heavy, just go right into attack mode and we can fix this, we can make this happen. Even I tell my daughter, like, never be a victim. Anybody tries to push into a car with you, just jump on them, attack them. Just change the scenario.
Absolutely.
So in almost everything in life, if you have that, willingness to take on everything and just, don't be the victim, you'd be surprised how that changes your life.
Absolutely. So I love your tip on overcoming adversity. And, we talk about adversity a lot and tips to overcome it. And I feel like a lot of times business owners, they have some kind of hurdle in front of them and they overcome it. And they get in that mindset of, I just overcame that hurdle. Time for me to reward myself and relax, right? And I think that's a horrible mindset to get into, and it's one that's easy to trick yourself into. I get my success and then I relax. I get my success and I relax, but that's no way to really thrive in the world. Do you have a tip or trick that keeps you motivated or your team motivated on a regular basis to keep pushing forward, even when you said a lot of people would call your brand very successful at this point, but you said you're still growing. You're not calling it a success yet. What keeps you pushing forward when other people would say, I got it, I made it?
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm genetically blessed and cursed because I'm anxiety ridden and always pushing and driven, just genetically, which also doesn't make my wife's life that great sometimes because I'm always anal retentive and I challenge everything that's put in front of me. Oddly enough, like, I look in the supermarket and go, why did they do this or whatever? I mean, I'm always just, my brain just goes to that. And my wife always bitches because, like, I always have to question everything she wants to do on her own. Like, I was like, all right, she was just driving somewhere, and I was like coaching her, and she's like, "Look, I'm an adult. I don't need you to. You're my father. I don't need you to coach me."
Right. I just let my wife tell me where to go.
Yeah.
I purposely get lost so that she has a purpose to tell me how to drive.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm always just driven, and honestly, I'm not a big sports guy. So business is my hobby, and so I don't like sitting back. You have to also celebrate. You have to celebrate your wins. We sell companies. It's been great. We took F45 public a couple months ago, which is, listen, I'm in the restaurant business with Wahlburgers and the gym business with F45, as I mentioned, from an investment standpoint. And listen, it's no fun, writing checks when you used to get checks, and it was very stressful. We were in F45 kind of right before COVID. We only had like 6 months of, wow, this is great, it's going great, and then COVID hit. It was very stressful. But again, going back, you just keep your mind on the fact that this is going to end eventually.
Right.
It's not going to last forever. It sucks right now, but you can't let that bring you down, because you can't change anything. So you just have to get through it, right? So you just might as well get through it with a good attitude. I celebrate wins. So taking it public was fun after that very stressful year plus. But we're always still now, how do we keep growing the business? So it's always, but I think that's fun. We take a step back to celebrate, but it's always, what do we do now next? Because no matter where you are in life, there's always somebody with a bigger boat, is a great saying, and everything's relative, and really, I think the key to happiness in one regard is, being happy with what you have, but that doesn't mean that you're not still pushing forward to do better in everything. That's kind of the mindset I have. Like, I love my life. I'm very lucky to have the things, lucky, and I've worked for it, but I'm always just pushing more to do better and have more successes, which, at this point in my life, it's not even financial. It's just, more checks in the box to say, hey, we created something cool. And I take a lot of pride in that, One of my kids we have these magnets for Performance Inspired. And my kids have them on a car basically because I paid for them, so I didn't have to. And somebody down in Charlotte area said, like, "Oh, I use those products. Those are great. It's cool to use them too. You're a big fan. Where'd you get that magnet?" And of course, my daughter would never say my dad owns a company. So she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm sure if you email them, they would do it." But I could tell she was really happy with that. But that made my day, right? Because it's cool to have your products, see them out there living in the world, and people engaging with them, and that's great for me. I love creating things. I love selling stuff. I grew up in the supermarket business. It's in my DNA to sell things and be a retailer. So I love creating and selling things.
Right. I have sometimes, I created a little boxing school. Me and my wife did. It's so much fun, and occasionally I'll be just standing there, and somebody will come up and ask me, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "Oh, nothing's wrong. I'm just standing watching what we've created." Right, and it's just so much fun to see people enjoying what you've done. And in the supplement line and F45, you get the added benefit of literally changing people's lives, which for the better, which if you've ever been involved in changing, helping, or just being a part of, not being the reason they're catalyst, but being part of somebody changing their life for the better and then coming back and telling the story. I tell you, there's no amount of money in the world that's more gratifying than hearing stories of you being part of changing a kid's life or a woman's life, or and they have this renewed energy and stuff. So the supplement line, the gyms, all those things are fantastic businesses to be in, and a whole lot of fun, right?
Yeah. Well, even with Performance Inspired with supplements, we wanted to focus a lot more, on charity. We give 2% of net sales to charity, net profits, to charity, which is a big deal for us. We started that. It's on our label, but also inspiring people to be healthier and live a more active, healthy lifestyle is really a big catalyst. Even in the name is very thoughtful, Performance Inspired. Our big hashtag is, hashtag inspired to be better. So we're always, helping, we don't try and push the stuff as much as we push just making healthy, good choices. And hopefully if we're helping inspire that, they'll choose our stuff, especially if they're comparing labels and everything else. So, but, even when I was at GNC, I used to tell the stores, hey, listen, don't just hit people over the head with trying to sell them stuff. Find out what their needs are, what they want to do with their life, whether there's struggles, they need to gain weight, lose weight, recover faster, work out harder, whatever. Have that conversation first, and then talk through the products with them. So we started that with, we reverse engineered with PI, Performance Inspired that way. So, all right, what products are people wanting out there? How do we make them better based on the top sellers? And starting with all natural, which by the way is a nightmare to do. It costs a lot more to do. It's a pain in the ass to formulate. Because literally you put a cup of artificial flavor in, and then a lot of times they'll take a pinch of natural stuff and throw it in, so they can say natural and natural and artificially flavored. We're all natural, so we actually put vanilla into our vanilla and chocolate into our chocolate. And with things like pre-workouts, it's very hard to do that naturally. But that's why we spend so much time working on it. I mean, our original pre-workout, the explosive pre-workout, took us 9 months to get right. Because a pre-workout has to really work, right? So to do it and make it efficient, where it doesn't just spike you up and make you want to jump off a bridge.
You don't want just the sugar high. Right?
We want to get you to a great place where you can do it and kind of stay there and not crash. So it's hard to do. And I've been in the business a long time, and it still took me 9 months to do it. And doing it naturally was tough, because then once you get the formula, making it taste good was hard. But we got there.
Right.
Being natural adds about 20% to our cost of goods, which is not a lot of fun. But especially when you're trying to compete with other brands that are artificial stuff.
Right.
So there's a lot of brands out there that are all coming out with these crazy flavors in their proteins, like Cocoa Pebbles and stuff. It's like, I would like to do that, but we just have to stick with all natural, which we think is still a much better place to be in, because artificial,
absolutely,
not where we want to be.
You've nailed on 2 points that I want to go back to. The first one was, you said you didn't want your sales reps beating your clients over the head to sell the products. And Gary Vee has a line that I really like. He said, teach people how to not use your product and they'll buy it from you, right? So if you start from a place of education, right, and when you're doing your business, and if you can figure out a way to educate your consumers on how to not use your product, but let them know that your product might be a shortcut or a performance enhancer for them, then it's a great way to sell. Anybody that's been, if you had a sales job where you were knocking on doors and that high volume sales or, cold calling stuff, it's a miserable existence, right? So if you can get out of that and you can get to a place of educating on your product, I think so many small business owners and business owners around the world will see a wild difference in how their product is perceived, right? Because whenever you're in that mindset of buy my product, you coming from a place of like stinginess, and you're not coming from a place that makes people want to be part of your environment, right? So I think that's really, really smart, and it's a great mantra to have in your business, and I wish more businesses would take that approach, because I think it helps them grow, and it creates better relationships between you and your consumers long term, right? So I think that's a wildly smart way to do it, and a lot of supplement stores and supplement brands haven't done that. The ones that have, I think, are the ones that are going to really excel, right? And thinking 10, 20 years from now, at the end of the day, people are going to buy from who they know and who they trust. And if you're the one out there educating your consumers, then they trust you, and you'll be their brand, right? And that's a really good way to do that.
Well, that's part. We're very different in a lot of different ways. But one of the big things that you reminded me of is that we don't pay ambassadors to pretend they like our products. I literally get emails all the time on Instagram and things like that. They're like, hey, you have a decent following. You want to be a brand ambassador for our stuff. Not even in MySpace, whatever. And I was like, this is like, you have to be a real customer and use our products for us to even support you and talk about you, retweet you, whatever. But you have to actually use our product. But we don't pay anybody. Like Bryson DeChambeau uses our stuff. Loves our stuff. Mark uses our stuff. Nobody is a paid ambassador to our products. People think, oh, what are you paying? I just got it last week. So he's like, well, they're wasting all the money paying Mark Wahlberg and Bryson DeChambeau. And we're like, okay, they paid us to be a part. They're active investors. But all of our customers, and we like that honest marketing, honest formulas, in our marketing too. But, like when you see somebody on our, that we've retweeted or used their statement about our product, they're real customers that paid for our product. And then talked about it, and then we engage with them, as opposed to 95% plus of the other brands in my space that say, hey, you have a big clientele, you have a big following, and you're pretty hot or big, whatever. Say you like our product, and we'll send you a free product, and then we'll do business with you. So that was a kind of a big shift. It may be hurting us in the long run, but that's kind of like we're okay. We like playing in the space we do and kind of hanging our hat on that. Our signatures are on the front of the labels for a reason. we're pretty proud of what we do. So we're just going to stick with it. But, paying people with big following, it's a nice gig, for those people and the companies because they get, but we just don't play that game.
Right. And then, so I love all that explanation. Thank you for that. And the other thing you talked about was you're spending 20% more on your natural ingredients. And I just want to talk about the thought process behind that and really reinforce to business owners about knowing your brand and knowing your product and knowing what your differentiator is. Because I honestly believe if you don't take a methodical approach at your differentiator, and for you, it's one of those differentiators is natural ingredients, right? I think that you lose trust so fast with your clientele, and it just starts a downhill spiral that whenever you have that differentiator and you're spending 20% more, I'm positive that every quarter somebody's looking at the P&L and going, man, could we save some money here, right? And you really got to stick to your guns and say, no, this is our product. And how do you what is some of the mindset behind making sure that you do not waver on that differentiator? Because it's a topic that I'm sure comes up from time to time, if not frequently.
No, that's not even a conversation starter for us because it would negate the whole foundation of our company being all natural. So yeah, could we save money? Like I said, can we pull 1 gram of protein out of our whey protein, for example, and go to 24? Optimum Nutrition's 24, the #1 brand in the world. We could easily do it, and still be a better product with the fiber and the digestive enzymes, which so we could do that. Would save us serious money. 1 gram doesn't sound like a lot, but by all the units we sell, it's the most important, most expensive ingredients of damn protein, which by the way just went up like crazy again because of supply chain stuff. But but changing from all naturals not even a conversation here. We just don't talk about it. It's just one of those things that you just live with who you are and just accept where you live in life in that space. And that's it, But yeah, I mean, there's other things we could do, that, kind of cutting out things. Like I'll give you an example. We just redid our protein bars, and we took some of the ingredients out that are amazing ingredients, but we weren't getting the credit for it. It just jacked up our cost of goods too much. And nobody, when you look at all the social media comments and talking about the bars, nobody really cared. They didn't care enough to comment on it. Right. So, and it also complicated the formula where we're losing moisture over time. And when you lose moisture, you lose flavor. So we reformulated it, pulled out some of the other ingredients, put in some other ingredients, and focused on taste more and longevity of the product more. And the 2.0 performance inspired bar 2.0 is a slam dunk. We added a layer of sugar-free chocolate to it, and so now everybody loves it. It stays moist, and it's far exceeding the other one. And not one complaint about taking out some of the other ingredients that we had to, because you can only have so much space. Literally, you can only fit so much stuff into a product, right? Right. So you have to kind of balance out what you put in and take out. So.
Yeah. So on those things, like when you're really talking about your product and your differentiator and your packaging, if it becomes tempting to cut corners to save money, you're really shooting yourself in the foot long term, and you're degrading your product, which will inevitably just erode your company away, right? So if you're in a business and you're struggling through a hard time, you're like, how do I cut costs, right? I would urge you to really call your vendors and talk to them and talk about, hey, if I do a commitment next year to more units, can I get a lower per unit charge? Or, talk about getting discounts on volume versus, cutting the quality of your product. And in today's world, I mean, you're going to have 2 different kinds of products. You're going to have the cheap product. And if you want to play that game chasing to the bottom price, that's a game that I don't ever want to play again coming from the hosting world, right? And hosting went to free, or the quality white glove service, then you always have to be beyond reproach, and you have to always look at packaging and product and stuff across the board, right? It's so important when you're selling value over price. Yeah. Right.
We just had a conversation on like the neckband that goes around our products.
Yeah.
Full wrap. It just this little bit could save us, meaningful money. And I said, you know what? I just like the added value. We have messaging on our neckbands, honest and better nutrition. So it's like, all right, can we save that and lose that to save? Because this adds up. Everything adds up. And I was like, you know what? Let's stay. I like the look. let's keep it going. It's, like there, we have no artificial colors and flavorings on the neckband. I don't want to lose that. Will
Right.
we save money? Yes. When we are by nature a lower margin brand, because our cost of goods are more expensive than brands that use artificial,
Right.
we go for volume. So that's why we focus in the mass market with supermarkets and other big players. We're the fastest growing brand in the military bases. We're on every military base in the world. A great relationship with AFES, Army Air Force Exchange. Mark and Bryson just did videos for the Army Air Force game coming out in Dallas on November 6th. Mark and I went to the Army Navy game a couple years ago in New York, which was an amazing experience. Or in Philly, sorry. It's just great. So we have a great relationship with them, and we just kind of stick to our guns, and again, we make less margin percent, but the margin dollars pay the bills. If you do the right thing, we believe that volume will keep increasing. So we've always been less margin for us. The retailers enjoy great margins because we give it to them, because we, again, have to compete. So if they're looking at who to give shelf space to, you have to be in the ballpark, even though you have a better product than somebody there with, Cocoa Pops flavors, always, marshmallow.
Yeah. You don't have a lot of time in that checkout line to really, or that, that aisle to get their attention, right? Especially in the mass market. So, awesome. Moving on to our last question of today's show. Is there a piece of technology other than the internet that you think has made a change in your life or your business in some kind of substantial way?
Oh, well, I guess the phone, which I'm getting a spam call. So,
right.
The phone, I guess you can say, that's not the internet as much as just having full access, good or bad, to your emails at all times, and just having the ability to talk. Like we have licensing deals with South Africa, Australia, and the Middle East right now. So like last night I was supposed to have a call with Australia, and around 10, 11 o'clock at night, they forgot to call or something happened. But, so I'm always on the call, always on the phone. Is that good or bad? Listen, they ran billion-dollar companies with no computers back in the day. But it's certainly, the phone is certainly changing life. I think going forward, things like QR codes, I think is something that's going to continue to become more prominent. We're starting to see more. We can actually scan a QR code on the TV. We want to use it more to put it on our products, so you can get training tips and diet tips and just functional information. So we're going to start doing that. Maybe tie it back to like a F45 trainers and say, here, scan this and get free this, or tie it back to the retailer with other specials that tie in to our brand. So I think that's a great technology that you're going to see a lot more of. I think, the ability to just have, not even use checkouts where people just recognize what's in your cart or what you're buying is great. And I think from a retail type of standpoint, understanding consumers' buying habits and kind of understanding their algorithms and what they're doing helps you cater more to them and what their needs are, which I think is helpful. I actually like when people recommend things based on what I Googled to help me, with things, buying stuff around the house. So I'm one of those people that say, oh, good, I'm glad, I search for like whatever, stain, and all of a sudden I'm getting ads for stains, different stains and stuff. So I'm one of those people like that. So I think that's actually something that's helping, us as well.
Yeah, I think the fact that we have mobile computing that's available, at least in our country, to almost everybody in our country has mobile computing power, right? And we can really, and as what you're talking about as a retailer, you can kind of see where they're going. I know that we've done a project with a company called Aisle 411, which mapped the inside of Walgreens, right? So you could say, hey, where's Q-tips? And it took, had a little map of Walgreens. It would take you right to the spot, right? And I think they're, I'm not sure where they're at in their fundraising or exit process at the moment, but I know that kind of technology or those kinds of tools become available because we have mobile computing.
Yeah.
And I think the world's right now stuck in this, hey, the phones are what the phones are, and really haven't yet tapped into really what the power can be whenever you're talking about a connected world where everybody has really massive compute power in their pocket and hand.
I don't know how great that is for your mental health. I mean, I remember running the West Coast for GNC when we didn't have cell phones, and they were
Right.
3 hours behind us, and it was great.
Yeah.
I think we had cell phones, but they were nowhere near, how they are today. But yeah, listen, being always had access and always checking emails, and it causes sleep problems and everything else. So even
Right.
I have a rule: I don't check emails. Like if I get up to use the bathroom in the middle of the night, up until like last year, I'd grab the phone and check emails, and then boom, my brain turns on, and I'm tossing and turning.
Well, as we're getting older, that becomes 3 and 4 times a night we're checking emails, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah, right. So,
yeah.
so one day I just said, everything can wait.
Yeah.
After about a week, now I don't even think about checking.
All those problems will be there when I wake up in the morning.
Yeah,
They're not going to.
Yeah,
They're not going to fix.
Problem, but just even good stuff just cranks you up and gets you.
And sometimes, and this is very important stuff, I think. Sometimes not being there instantly will save you a lot of time, energy, and money. Sometimes those problems are resolved before you get to them, right? So, I mean, at some point you've got a team, right? You got a team doing stuff and working on things. Yeah. A lot of times, man, you just let that problem go and it will resolve itself. I mean, there's some problems that don't do that, but a lot of that stuff you think is important, it just isn't.
Yeah, I mean, I learned a lot of great lessons growing up at GNC because we had a very, thin management group. Like every time we got bought by somebody, how do you do this with so many direct reports? You guys need more people in the C-suite. And we go, well, we tried. You could try, but nobody could really do it. So we end up doing a lot with very little. It teaches you a lot. We don't need to know everything. You guys figure it out, because if we create this culture where they constantly come to you, with everything, so it becomes a problem. But you have to be there for critical decisions. And, we joked one time because I said in a meeting, somebody, we had a little spy telling us what people were saying about us. I said, listen, how do I know what people say about me? It's it doesn't do me any good. Good or bad, even. Let's just keep let's keep the top line. So you learn a lot of quick decision making skills and just kind of how to manage big organizations, which translates nicely to smaller organizations. And when we look at buying into things, we kind of like to kind of get a handle on the culture pretty fast. If it's a very backstabbing culture or very, relying on the one person to start the company culture, that's a problem, because usually everybody's weak and just doesn't stand up for what should be done right and doesn't speak up. So now you have a culture that's relying on one kind of, you can even say a bully, or just, it's their opinion because they started the company and they've been in charge. So, that's something when you're buying companies to look at, because now you have to understand, now we have to really figure out, can these people adapt and step up, or are they just, beaten down so long, they just can't make decisions and kind of step up if, the founder or whatever goes away. So, it's a lot involved.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today. I very much appreciate it. We're just going to go ahead and wrap the show up for now. Thanks a lot, folks, for watching the show today. Today's show is brought to you by nlink.com. My nlink account is nlink.com/Ken. If you go to that URL, you'll get all of my social media profiles in one location. Rapport made easy. Get to work.